track.
Oh, Bill's losing track of his mind. That's what he's losing track of. But hey, welcome. I clicked, maybe recorded a little too soon. But we're on episode 19. That's what we talk about. I always have to bring it up. And like my YouTube channel, I'm like, what are we on? I don't know. Well, it's 19. And like as we talked about last time, that's 19 weeks.
Yeah.
But Bill, how is it going over on your side of the country?
It's going all right. Very beautiful out right now. I'm praying that it doesn't rain. Like I said, I think I mentioned this on our last recording, that it doesn't rain Saturday, so I can go on a trip. Either way, I'm going to go on it.
Happy birthday to you. It's his birthday coming up, so.
Yep. So.
Well, coming up like tomorrow from when we're talking.
That is true. Yeah.
But celebrating
June
Saturday
7th.
when this comes out. So as you're watching this, if you're watching it when it posts, Bill was going to go out on caves, but no. What are you going to do instead?
Or what did I do?
What are you doing?
If this is coming out on Saturday, then I would have already done it.
Oh, I know.
What time do you post these? Do you have a scheduled time?
12 a.m.
12 a.m.
As soon as it hits, if I'm on top of things.
So it'd be Bill.
So
what are your plans for today?
Friday. Yeah, tell us. What are you doing?
Well, no, yeah, I'm planning on going down to a local space museum, the Neil Armstrong Air and Space Museum, I think is what it's called, in Wapakoneta, Ohio. I don't personally remember going there, never as far as I'm aware of. So I like space stuff. So I'm planning on going and checking that out with a friend of mine. Me and him are going to ride our bikes down and motorcycles and go check it out. You don't want to ride a bicycle for an hour. It's brutal. Actually, it'd be longer than an hour because you're going at a slower
pillow,
speed.
right? Sit on a pillow or something.
Yeah. You know what? That is a great idea. Because
my pillow.
Right. I'll get one of those for my motorcycle.
Freedom.
It's like, why are you sitting on that? Because it's comfortable.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, and that's what you don't realize until you get in those situations where you're like, this is so uncomfortable, and then it's gonna follow you for like the next couple of days of being uncomfortable. You're like, oh, because I did this one thing.
Yeah. Well, and one of the blessings, I just recently put on what's I think they're called highway pegs, like for the front of a motorcycle, to help you stretch out your legs. I just put those on my bike. I need to position them a little bit better, but I do love them because working in a hot factory, pants kind of, by the end of the day, your pants are kind of sticking or whatever. So I love those because what I can do is I can put, one at a time. It feels kind of weird having them both up, but I put one leg up at a time. And just, let the breeze just kind of, unstick my pants. It's like, oh, man, this feels nice. So probably more than the audience wants to know, but, it's whatever. It's already there.
But from there, we talked about butts and sticky pants. I thought it'd be interesting to talk about opportunities, so let's get it going in that direction. Yeah. But on the podcast this week, we had laughter yoga, so definitely check out the episode. It's really interesting. I never heard of such a thing, but Courtney, the business owner, had a whole point within that, and part of it where she talked about opportunity and how like you a lot of times have to create that opportunity for yourself, and you never really know what is going to happen when you put yourself out there, when you're creating these opportunities. And what it came down to, and like her advice, not her advice, but what I would say is the advice of it is like, you never really know. And the worst that can happen is that you get a no. And once you know that, so many no's, no. Once you know that the no is the worst it can get, then it actually opens up a lot of possibilities for you as a person within your business. Even like I mentioned in the episode, which I was like, man, this was such a long time ago because it was talking about social dancing at my church. I'm like, I don't know when that was. It feels like a lifetime ago. But that whole idea, and I've heard this in other instances, like if you, which I don't, we just talked about before, so we don't drink, either of us. But like if you go to a bar and you're picking up on people, it just sounds nothing we would do either. But like you get rejected once and then you start to see like, oh, that's all that it is. It's like, no, I'm not interested. Then you get more confidence, you get bolder, you get to be more of yourself, and you're not letting all these things pile up against you that would prevent you from maybe some really cool opportunities. And I think within our own businesses, as people are listening, if they have their own business, that's something that can be overlooked and seen like, we always hope that one day this post will do well, or this episode, will blow up, it will explode. Like by chance, something will happen. But the reality is a lot of us, and Bill, I think you have a lot of, just being connected with you, you have a lot of good examples of like you just send an email to this publisher. And I'm like, wow, there's something to that, because a lot of us, you do have to create those opportunities and really put yourself out there. But I'd love to just to kind of talk about that. What have been your own experiences within that?
Well, there's been opportunities. There's a bunch of different directions you could go with that. Is one, and this is any business, is, hey, there's an opportunity to do this, but you need said resources, you need said people, you need said finances, whatever it is to accomplish it or to make it happen. But then there's other stuff. For example, you brought up that whole, contacting a publishing company. Some of them are simply, as easy as, signing up, using a resource or whatever, or sending an email saying, hey, can I use this? And, whatever it is. So, like you said, you never know unless you dive into it. I'm really a kind of a go-to guy. For the most part, as long as it's available, I'll do it. I'll take the chance. Whatever it is, I'll not whatever, because there's obviously some boundaries that I wouldn't cross. But if it fits in line with what I'm doing and it's something I want to do in the future or something, I'll check it out. I'll dive into it. For an example, there was I can't remember specifically what it was, some sort of program online that I was checking out. It was basically a whole free sign up, free to use, and obviously, pay for more features kind of thing. But I was like, what the hey? Worst thing it's going to do is they're going to have my email, and I'm going to get annoyed by all these emails that they're sending me because I stopped using their thing. I mean, it's usually how it goes. I'll check something out, sign up, or I'll sign up, check it out, and then, okay, that's cool. I'll come back to it later, and then, X amount of time passes. Okay, I'm still not ready for it, and I'm still getting emails and say, hey, we've just added these features to our platforms. Like, I don't care. I'm not using it anyways. But, there's always an opportunity. And I personally think one of the benefits to that is, within your limits, all sorts of different types of limits, personal beliefs, what type of business you have, and so on, financial abilities, team manpower, and whatever else. But within your limits, my personal thought is say yes. Because, as an example, you can check out this stuff, samples, free trials, whatever it is. Some companies, even the factory that I work for, they get all these companies that send them all sorts of samples, freebies kind of thing to, hey, check out our product. Do you want to buy more? And some of the stuff that they get, they end up just giving to some of the random people within the company. And say, hey, we got this to try it out. Here you go. So it's kind of cool. And you can test it out, see if it works, and then come back to it, either next week, depending on what your status is, or next month, and a year, whatever it is. But ultimately, you can add that to your list. And I've got mentally anyways, a massive list of resources that are set opportunity that I'll get to eventually. Don't know how long, but does that answer your question?
Yeah. And what does it look like? So you come to in your business, like, this would be really cool. Let me reach out. Is that what it looks like? And then how do you find, because you have a lot of instances where I'm always surprised. You're like, I found the email and I just emailed them. But what does that look like? Like, what are you thinking of within that when you come to it in your business? And then how does it play out? Because I think it's interesting and cool to hear when you've done it quite a bit from what I've seen since I've known you.
You mean like when I come across a new piece of whatever it is, like, what am I thinking about? Like, how am I going to implement that kind of thing?
Like you wanted with the Zondervan, like getting access to these resources.
Yeah.
What even made you think of that? And then how did you even know you could email and ask, like, hey, let me in. Okay, you've been accepted. You're like, oh, wow. Like, I got accepted. Or you had the workbook where you're like, I don't think they're going to respond, but can I use your work in a course? And like, they wrote back in a couple of days where they said it could take 6 to 8 weeks to get back to you.
Well, yeah, they actually wrote back to me in like 10 minutes from what I heard from them. So that's what really threw me off. I was like, okay, I was here waiting about a month, or I'm expecting about a month, but no, you guys are getting back to me, right as I don't even remember what I was doing, but I got an email. I was like, okay, cool. But, well, in that particular instance, I had to do kind of a little bit of a toss because originally I bought this textbook and workbook. I think I had that at that point in time. But I was planning on using that just to develop, or to be the framework to develop my own material, or my own course based off of that. And then here I'm looking through the material, and I'm like, this is really good stuff. And so I was like, this is too good to pass up. So I had to do a little tossing, because there's another book that I did for church history, which was super easy. I just contacted the author, and then the author, or at least his secretary or whatever, they said, yes, go ahead and use it. We'll do whatever you want with it. The only thing we're asking is that we get credit for the book, and students purchase their own. I was like, yeah, no big deal. I'm planning on doing that. Awesome. So I basically had the same answer from this publishing company. I was going about the same road as I was like, well, let's try to find the authors or whatever. And then here I'm seeing, I've got to contact a publisher. And so, yeah, I mean, I originally was just going to make my own. And then next they're saying, it's like, yeah, you can go ahead and use it. And I really don't remember how I stumbled across it. But somehow, maybe I was digging for additional resources or something. I don't remember. And then here to find out, they had a whole platform of sign up, get approved, and you can use all our teaching material for, your church or school, whatever it is. So they obviously have, which were not personally listed, but they did, some certain criteria. So I had to give them, name, position, what I'm doing, what I want to use, and, website and all that. So, I mean, it took them, a little bit to review, but within a few days I got an email saying you've been approved to use our resources. So yeah, I mean, those opportunities are there. It does take some digging, does take some research, but I would say when you're going across it, if you're trying to get permission for something like that, whatever it might be, try to take the approach of how are they going to benefit from me using their material or resources or whatever it might be. What's in it for them? Because that's really what companies want. If they're going to give you permission to do so, yeah.
You're like, students will buy your books. Let me teach from it, please.
Right. Exactly. And then what's in it for them? So, I would say throw that on the table. Leave your cards. How are you going to benefit in all this? Leave that off the table. Throw that in later on. But ultimately say, hey, here's what I'm going to do, and here's what you guys are going to get out of it. I mean, just see what happens. And you obviously don't have to do that all the time. I mean, there's other opportunities, resources, and stuff where you don't even have to contact anybody. You can just use it. But
yeah, I think that's great. And I think picking up on that too is like, you have to have like the desire to want these opportunities. Like if you're wanting to build your business and push it forward, you kind of come to a lot of walls where you're like, it's not as easy as I thought it would be. I can't do everything on my own. I'm going to have to pull in more resources, help, support, and that looks different for everyone. But then you also have to be good at communicating and knowing, like my mentor, and I'm on his email list, and it sent a couple like weeks ago maybe of like a lot of people, you ask them what their business is and they go on like a 10-minute thing, and it's like people are just not clear and you lose their interest so quick. So you have to know and kind of get good at that of like, I like to write a lot, but I'm always going back and taking stuff out. I'm like, oh, it's too much. Like to Bill, I can send him a long text and I know he'll read it. He likes to read, he likes to write. But some people,
hold up.
I send texts and I don't hear back, and I'm like,
and when you send those, and I'm weird about these things because when it's not just you in particular, but people in general. When I get these long messages, like the individual that was on our podcast, they always. It's never like short responses. I'm going to send you a novel. So when I say something, I got to be prepared to take a break and read this entire thing.
Read it, process it, reread it, right back to what.
Like, here I responded with only the first couple sentences, and they still got like 3 paragraphs that I've got to respond to.
Yeah.
But I mean, the stuff that you share, I'm the same way. I read it all; it's all good stuff. But every time I see it, I'm overwhelmed. It's like, Michael. Seriously, dude.
But I never expect a quick response. So, because one of my friends, it'll be like days or a week, and then it's like, okay, we've got like 5 different topics that we throw. Because when you don't talk as much with certain friends, then I'm like, there's a lot to catch up on. Like, it'd be easier if we just met up in person. But if that's not the case, like, here's how this is, and this, and oh yeah, this has happened, and then the more time elapses, and I'm like, oh, there's too much, Like,
yeah. Well, seeing like, with those long stuff, I'm guilty of that too. So I don't really have any room to criticize that.
But all to say, you definitely have to be good at communicating. And I think even if it's not even electronic, just like being willing to talk with other people and like weird area, like just being a friendly person. And people on the podcast, for sure, Philbrick, the show, have talked about that too. Like, you never know who you're going to bump into when you're at the grocery store, when you're trapped in an elevator, when you're at the gym. And I always think that's really interesting to think about too. And a lot of my own experience with creating and taking hold of opportunities was in the high school to college, because literally these places are built for that. Like,
Right.
I want to sing the national anthem. How do I do that? I want to perform this. How do I do that? Guess what? You can't do that. In college, they have resources. You can rent out space and buildings. And like, once you graduate, it's closed. You have to pay. Like, you're a member of the public. And so I really liked that, and like knowing that. And you kind of learn that as you're ending the time, you know, like as you become a junior and senior in high school, you're like, oh, I'm now ready to start a club and have it be killer. But guess what? It's too late.
Right.
And so like, same with college, as you're finishing, you're like, I understand now how to maximize, get everything out of this. And so that's something that I've thought a lot about as am always revamping and working on this business. It's like, ooh, what are those opportunities? Because I think definitely the start is like, you have to want the opportunities, which is very weird to say, because it's like, of course we all want that, but you have to want it, but then actually be willing to work for that.
Yeah.
Whether it's like looking for opportunities that are out there or creating them and being like, I like, for an example for myself, it's looking, because so many other people also mention how important in-person networking is, going to other events, meeting other people. I haven't felt like it would be that helpful for me, because I'm like, I've got a podcast, I interview people, but I'm not really interested in interviewing you, like you guys, and I'm not selling anything. So how can we support you? Listen to my content.
Yep.
Which, like, that is a way to do it. But I'm like, rather than taking advantage of those opportunities, I would rather just start my own in-person networking meetup under my business and kind of go the route of creating the opportunity to bring others together, because that actually fits more in my own
Oh yeah.
like realm of the business. And I like the event management. I'd be creating opportunities to network with other business owners where I'm like, can we have a free event, please? I'll make them buy your pastries or your coffee,
Yeah.
like whatever. So that's kind of what I've been throwing around amidst everything else that I'm supposed to be doing, of like, oh, if you can't, like, it's not even that I can't go to the other ones, it just doesn't sound fun. Like, I'm like, I don't want to be in a forced room with other people talking, but I'd rather get it started and be like, have fun, I will facilitate.
Well, and I think the networking thing is something that everybody should be a part of. Like, and I think really one of the biggest reasons, or one of the biggest struggles people have is, and it can go in any direction, but is you have an idea, and the opportunity is there in everything. If you've got a business or you need said resources for your business, whatever it is that you have, whatever, even if it's just a basic thought, the opportunity is there. But the hindrance is that we think of, well, it's going to take so much work, so much time. I'm not qualified for this particular, action, event, whatever it might be, that's related. For an example, marketing. I suck at marketing. I'm not even concerned about that right now. But marketing is an example there. Within my business, if, granted, I'm a little further ahead right now, but if I was just getting started and I was like all dwelling on, well, I don't have the marketing experience, who cares? There's somebody out there that can, and that's the importance of networking. It could be, at your job, somebody who, went to school, or there were some sort of, journalist or marketing person in school, high school, college, whatever it might be. They did it for their family, they did it for their church, they did it for the last company that they worked for. You might not always find it, but there's somebody that has more skills in a certain field that you need, that can help you to accomplish that. So, that's something to look out for. That you can find that, and for that marketing, for an example, you're helping them out. One, they're developing skills, or if they already have a business, you're coming on as a client or promoting them or something, helping them to bring in business. Yeah, I had such and such company help me with this, and go from there. So you're bringing them business by finding these things. And that's my rant. I'm going to stop right there because I could go on.
Yeah, and I think you never know what the other person is thinking, because I'm always like, I don't want to overburden people, almost to the sense, because I worked at the startup with customer service, managing community, and people would feel bad about writing in. I'm like, thank you, because yes, there's so many emails I have to do, but also that's my job. So like, if you need help, I'm here to help you. And then if I like you, I'm motivated by inner workings to do even more. And so that's something I'm excited for the business here as it keeps going, when like some people in the community we're in will reach out and ask like, oh, what do you think of this? Or how do I do this? I'm like, sure, I'll write a whole essay of how you could do this. Or like, oh, I thought this could be cool. So I think that's something for listeners, like just reach out. And like a lot of businesses will say like, we want to hear from you. And that's something I say in mine, like, right back, let me know. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I actually would like to hear from people. Like, you guys understand, Bill's like the only person I talk to like on a weekly basis, you know, like a structured, like we meet face to face once a week to do these recordings. But
Right.
from there, like if people aren't reaching out, like sure, you get some social media, you get some in person, but you know, at the end of the day, the person you're reaching out to might like be there to help you. So that's their job. But as they get to know you, they may be motivated to help you even more, to give you, I always say, you want to become friends with bartenders, cooks, anyone with food or drink, because
Oh, absolutely.
they love what
They're the
they
best
do,
kind of people.
and you'll get freebies. Baristas, I'm like, if we like you, we'll give you a drink on the house. We'll say,
Right.
oh, it's a mess up. Like, so you never know.
Here, have a free coffee.
Yeah, and I think for my own self in that business program, I was looking at more of like reaching out for help, but two different, like a friend I had who he was in the UK, he stopped messaging me. So I'm like, are you still alive? What's going on? But he had a bad experience with the program too, not a surprise. And he said he just quit, left it all. And I was like, did you even reach out? Because I reached out, I got like a 3-month break. I got another break. And then I said, I want my money back. And they said, no. So that was a no. But the main coach said, I will personally mentor you for the next 5 or 6 months of like a monthly call. And I was like, that created something all new. And that was just because I needed help. And I am used to that now. I'm kind of really good. Like, I'm not happy. What can you do? Like, if you're a paying customer, like, yes, reach out. But I think that's something that people don't always pick up on, of like the guy who just quit and left, like he lost really a lot of money.
Oh, yeah.
And like I got so much all because I just sent an email. It was like difficult for a little bit, but then it evened out.
Yeah, and I think that's really something to look at too. Is you know, when it comes to reaching out for these, let's take that example that you just gave, your own experiences. If you're in that, or if you're getting ready to invest into something, if it's costing money, then I would think it'd be beneficial. It'd be very helpful to think this way. Worst case scenario, what if this doesn't work? So before you go buying X amount of dollars for whatever product it is, whatever service it is, say, okay, if I'm going to put this money into it, what's going to happen if I don't like it? And, you know, I would come up with a backup plan. I mean, you might be out that money, but, you know, with Michael's experience, is like, okay, well, we'll kind of, you know, give you a quote unquote freebie to make up for how much money you gave us.
Which was smart because he's got his own business, and
Yeah.
I am against, like, you know, I'm not going to do anything with that program, but I really like this guy who helped me out. And guess what? He's got a business, and I paid to be a yearly member of his.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you just bought yourself a lifetime customer. Like, on top of, like, he really wants to help the people he encounters. So I'm like, he's a good guy. He's in it for the right reasons. But I'm like, also very smart because you've got me now.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and, you know, looking at that, I'm not saying like that we should look at everything as a worst case scenario, but sometimes it can help us to, if we come across it that way, it can help us to be motivated. Okay, what are some alternatives? So you're not always going to get your money back, of course, but I mean, there's always other opportunities there, and it'll help you to really think further down the road. And I'm a guy that thinks far too long. I if there's a situation, I'm always thinking pros and cons of all that. And when somebody has a question, it's like, well, I want to say yes, but I want to say no. I want to say left, but I want to say right. I want to say you could go do this. I want to say this will work, but then at the same time, it might not work. It's just kind of how I think. So it's been helpful for me. It really keeps my brain going. I mean, sometimes it drives me nuts, but
The only thing keeping us alive.
yeah. So,
But from here, we're short on time. Want to put together in a minute or two, like what you're working on, or I guess just what are you working on? Any highlights from the last week as you head into this next one?
no. Well, I mean, I think I don't remember specifically what I shared. I'm just, trying to finish up these little lab reports for this course in hermeneutics, and I'm excited about that. The final countdown, and it's just getting close. I mean, there's a couple other things I got to take care of. I'm pretty much the same position I was last week, just a little bit closer.
Nice. That's always good. And that's what I think people forget. And I don't want to scare people away when they're thinking about doing a business, but I'm like, you have a lot of times where it's just slow, but like you're slowly going forward. So it's not bad. Like, it's not bad for you to say, I haven't accomplished everything, because the truth of it is, like, especially with each person's schedule, like, you're already working a ton, and you've got your own personal life plus your other job plus this. So that's something I think a lot of people forget, is that it's a slow going journey, and you just be grateful for the success you have along the road and as you go.
Yeah, and a lot of learning experiences too. So that's the fun part. It might take a little bit to get going, but throughout the entire endeavor, you're gonna learn a lot. And in my personal opinion, I can't say love it. Some people hate it, but it's a great experience. If you look at the positives, like, okay, well, this failed, but I learned this. Michael, you've shared some of that in the fore, but ultimately, I mean, I'm a guy that likes to look down the road and is like, this is exciting. We're not there yet, but here's what I've learned so far since getting started. And it's just really awesome because, Michael, like what you're doing, you can take those experiences, these things that I've learned developing this business in the past X amount of years, I can now pass on to you. So.
Yeah, and that's what I was learning this week was that Beehive, that emailing platform. It's not user friendly. I don't know. Either that or I've just gotten, you were saying on your show, I think before your show, like, I think I'm just getting old. I'm like, am I that, like, I'm not a quick learner. I'm like, no, Michael, you are. This program is just bad. I'm like, that's also the sign of being old. I'm like, I don't know. I just expect things because I've built websites I've jumped around from platforms. I've come into new things all the time. I was in customer service. I know a lot about like user experience. I'm like, this is just like not a great user experience, and just getting so frustrated of like, I want to send this week's email with it. I'm like, no, you cannot, because you haven't even figured out how to format the darn email. And I'm like, almost like they have too many features where I'm like, it's to the detriment of like overwhelming the new user. I'm like, I just want a blank white email with writing. I want my logo at the top. Like, there's so many things. I'm like, turn this off, don't do this. So I would say that's been frustrating, but I've got it together where I can send out my first email this week. So we're recording this earlier in the week. So the small business community should be getting that tomorrow if I can figure out how to import the emails from Klaviyo.
Just trying to learn how to control a spaceship.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things with like learning new things, and I'm like, that's not a bad thing. It's something you need in your business. And I'm also looking at it for like, as you mentioned, if I'm learning things to share with other people, I want to learn how to use this, and so I can help other people. Right now, I would say stick with Klaviyo. Don't jump into it yet until I can figure out like what exactly I'm doing. But I got to see the first round of the masterclass, and it was actually way better than I thought. So yes,
awesome.
I think I mentioned with you, maybe even on the show too, which I'm like, man, sharing all of what I'm feeling is not good for marketing. To be like, I feel like I did crummy, but I was like in the moment and looking back, I'm like, yeah. But then when I watched it last Saturday, I was so nervous. I had a cup of coffee, and then I kept drinking more coffee. I'm like, Michael, this is just gonna make you more anxious, because I'm like, before I watched it, I'm like, I should just take a walk, get some of this out. And I'm like, no, sit down and watch it. And it was really good. So like, there's definitely things I could improve, like little things. So the normal person who's gonna come across this probably won't think those things, but like mentally I'm like, this could be changed, I could do this better. But overall I was very happy with it. So
awesome.
I paid the last payment for that and should get that together soon, and kind of a lot of other things which I'll maybe say for next week, of like even looking more into the getting out of the poor man's mentality, which I'll tell you after the show, because it's exciting.
All
but
right.
I think just a lot of exciting things with part of getting the Beehive set up. The Beehive, I don't know if that's the term they use. It's all about bees, so probably getting the hive set up is that I can do a lot more with emailing and pushing the business forward via email, rather than here's social media, go to the website that no one goes to, read these articles no one reads. It's like, it'll be emailing, and if you got to commit to give me your email, and then you will get everything.
Right.
And that's kind of, I feel like that's what I have been saying. I've been doing, but this is like taking it to the extreme. So it feels good to get more of the foundational stuff going, even though I'm still like, feels like it's far from making money, but I see it in the horizon.
All right, I've got thoughts there, but we're short on time, so I'll be nice.
Oh no!
I'll share with you after the show.
But yeah, so thanks for tuning in. Make sure that you are staying in contact and in touch with both Bill and myself. As I mentioned, and I know it's the same for Bill, he would love to hear from you. If you got
Absolutely.
any questions about his business, what he thinks about
I'll
whatever.
tell you what I think.
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
He'll tell you. But the thing is, you do have to take the opportunities there that are there. So if we're saying reach out, actually reach out. But if you have other things that you think you could work with us, I don't know. What's to say we won't move forward and all of a sudden you're a part of our business or you're helping support us. There's a lot of different things, but I think that's a good way to end it. But you got to take those first steps of connecting, subscribing, listening to our podcast.
The number one opportunity is to give us the opportunity.
Yeah.
That sounded better in my head, but
Oh, I thought it was good. No.
Did you? All right, it's copyrighted.
See you.
You got to give me a few bucks. Later, guys.
Oh no.